Hi everyone, and welcome to our live session, Job Hunting Manager, the new rules of the job market in 2026. Today, we will talk about why experienced candidates can have the right competencies, a solid CV, and a clear intention to change, but still receive fewer interview invitations than expected. And more importantly, what can be done about it? Uh, because this is a live stream, sometimes it takes some time for participants to tune in. So in the meantime, I will introduce myself. My name is Maria Borek, and I am career consultant and trainer at Career Angels. Together with our team, I help European professionals, managers, and executives navigate complex job searches and manage their careers. I also recruit and train our team of consultants to ensure quality across all client work. Now, a few words about who we, Career Angels, are. Since 2010, we've supported almost 30,000 individuals in their job search and career decisions. Since 2020 alone, more than 48,000 people have participated in our webinars and events. And we also collaborate with top business schools, deliver custom programs for executives and HR teams, and also even co-created postgraduate degrees on career advisory. What is very important is that our advice is based on real data, not guesswork. We analyze job market KPIs in 80 countries. We analyze LinkedIn algorithm changes, and we track over 26,000 reactions from headhunters and decision makers. We also use insights from our job hunting report that we publish annually, which is based on our client cases and which gives us a very clear picture of how the market has changed and what this means for experienced candidates. Everything is backed by more than 40 years of research on career management. So what I hope is clear right now that when we say something works, it's because the numbers, client cases, and market observations point in the same direction. And that direction is clear. The market has changed. And before we dive into the content of today's session, a quick note. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to write your questions in the comment section in the meantime. If you prefer not to have your full name visible under the event, please send me also a private direct message on LinkedIn. I will also check them during the event. And at the end, during the Q&A session, I will try to make my best to answer your questions. Okay, so let's start with the main point of today's session. The market changed, but many job searches did not. Many candidates still search for a job as if the market worked the same way it did a few years ago, but it doesn't. Our job hunting report confirmed that we are not dealing with temporary slowdown, but with a structural shift. Job searches take longer, job mobility has slowed, candidates and employers are more risk-aware, professionals make fewer impulsive moves, and opportunities are evaluated more carefully. This means that experienced candidates are no longer changing jobs just because they are frustrated. They move when the opportunity clearly justifies the risks. And employers are also more careful before making any decisions. And this is why strong candidates still have weak response rates. Many experienced candidates have relevant experience, strong competencies, a well-prepared CV, but still receive fewer interview invitations. Why? Because competition is higher. Recruitment processes are slower. Applications look more similar because everybody uses ChatGPT, Gemini, etc. Trust signals matter more, and job ads rarely work as a standalone channel. So fewer interviews do not automatically mean weaker candidates. Very often they mean that the job search process no longer matches the reality of the market. So let's now move to the job process itself. A modern, effective job search is not about sending out hundreds of applications and hoping for the best. It means a proactive, structured approach across 4 job search channels: networking, job ads, direct contact with decision makers, and direct contact with headhunters. Each channel plays a distinct role. Used together, they form a complete and proactive job search strategy. Let's now take a look at how effectiveness of those job search channels has changed. Until 2024, accepted job offers could be described as coming from 4 separate channels, and each channel was evaluated individually. Candidates and career advisors would ask which one works best, or which one delivers the highest share of accepted offers. This model reflected the numbers correctly, but it assumed that channels worked independently. And that assumption is exactly what started to become less and less accurate. In 2025, this no longer explained how successful job transitions actually happened. The data still mattered, but it was no longer enough to look at the channels separately. We needed to look at how they interact with one another. From around 2020 onward, we observed clear shifts. First, hiring processes became longer. We already mentioned that. Second, risk awareness increased on both sides among candidates and employers. Third, we saw fewer impulsive career moves. And fourth, there is more verification before decisions are made. And as a result, all 4 channels had to be activated in parallel. In other words, the question is no longer which channel works best. The better question is, how do I make these channels support each other? And here you can see the way we used to present accepted job offer sources until 2024. We looked at 4 separate channels: direct approach, networking, executive search firms, and job ads. And the table shows how their share changed between 2019 and 2024, and the average for the last 3 years. At that stage, the natural question was, which channel works best? But in 2025, this view was no longer enough. The upper table still shows useful historical data, but it treats each channel as if it worked independently. The lower table shows the more accurate 2025 picture. Successful job searches often happened through combination of channels. The strongest pattern was direct approach supported by networking, followed by job ads supported by networking and direct approach. So the point is not that one channel disappeared or stopped working. The point is that the channels started to work more as a system, more like a system. Job ads, networking, and direct contact increasingly support each other. And this brings us to the main takeaway. The new job market requires even more effort from candidates because of the need for a multi-touch outreach strategy. This means that a job ad can be an entry point, but it often needs to be supported by networking, direct contact, follow-up, and a clear value message. Let's now move into why job searches fail, even for qualified experienced candidates. There are 5 main reasons. Most job seekers rely too heavily on one channel, usually job ads, which makes sense because this is the most traditional way of looking for a job. Second, they are underprepared and misinformed. They apply without enough visibility, context, or follow-up. Their positioning isn't clear enough. They measure the wrong things or nothing at all. And we will go through each of these problems one by one. So the first problem is relying on job ads alone. Job ads still matter, also for senior candidates. Please remember about that. But in 2025, only 20% of accepted offers came from job ads as a standalone channel. Another 27% came from job ads supported by networking and direct approach. So the problem is not applying to job ads. The problem is stopping there. Job ads can start the process, but human connection often helps finish it. So what does that mean in practice for you? After applying, effective candidates ask, who is the likely decision maker? Do I know someone who can provide context for me? Can I reach out with a relevant specific message? Can I make my profile visible outside the ATS? How do I follow up without sounding generic? This is where many candidates lose opportunities. Then they apply, but they not create any additional visibility around the application. The second problem is lack of strategic preparation. A job search does not start with the CV, it starts with clarity. You need four key elements. A well-defined job goal, as precise and realistic as possible, and we call this the path of least resistance. Strong USP showing why you are the best candidate. 2 CVs for human and for ATS, and an optimized LinkedIn profile. And a plan for using all job hunting channels. And unfortunately, many job seekers don't know that. And the reason this matters is simple. The market is much more demanding. You cannot pick and choose anymore. You need clarity, positioning, documents, LinkedIn outreach, networking, headhunters, and follow-up. A good CV is important, of course, but it's only one part of the entire process. And preparation matters more now because the market is slower and more cautious. Employers verify more before making any decisions. That means candidates need to show what role they are targeting, why they are relevant, what business value they bring, whether their profile matches the role quickly, and whether their CV and LinkedIn tell the same story. If the message is unclear, people will not spend extra time trying to interpret it because they don't have that time. They will move on to the next candidate because it will be simply easier. They have hundreds of them. The third problem is applying without visibility. Many candidates apply correctly but remain invisible. Why? Because their CV enters a crowded process. ATS and AI tools increase filtering. Recruiters see many similar profiles, there is no follow-up, and there is no human context around the application. So if nobody relevant notices your profile, even a strong CV may not generate interviews. So what does visibility look like today? It can come from a tailored CV, an optimized LinkedIn profile, a relevant follow-up message, direct contact with a decision maker, a warm introduction via networking, or visible expertise and credibility signals. And as you can see, visibility is not about being loud. It is about helping the right person understand your relevance faster. The fourth problem is unclear positioning. Many experienced candidates have strong backgrounds, but their profile does not clearly answer the below questions. What role are they targeting? What problems can they solve? What level do they operate at? what makes them different from similar candidates, and why should this employer speak with them right now. So experience does not speak for itself. It needs to be translated into relevance. And when positioning is unclear, several things happen. Recruiters categorize the candidate based on the most recent role, which can be misleading. Decision makers do not immediately see the business value. LinkedIn and CV communicate different messages. The candidate looks too broad or too generic, and outreach becomes harder to personalize. At senior level, broad experience can be, of course, an advantage, but only when it is clearly framed around the target role. The fifth problem is not measuring the right things. The first KPI we track for our clients is the response rate. So, how many effectively contacted people replied divided by the total number of those people. And by effectively contacted, we mean that you send both the first and the follow-up email. A healthy response rate is between 30 and 50%. And if your rate is below that, it likely means you are not targeting the right people or your message isn't clear or compelling. And without KPIs, candidates often diagnose the problem emotionally instead of objectively. And once we have the numbers, we can stop guessing and start diagnosing. The next important KPI is the interview rate. So how many interviews you've been invited to divided by the total number of emails sent with CVs. This tells us whether your process is generating actual conversations. And what is considered good? Something between 5 and 10%. If you're applying regularly but getting no response or re-interviews, the problem isn't your experience, it is your process. What do most candidates actually get? The response rates below 10% and interview rates around 1 to 3. And again, if your numbers are below that, it does not automatically mean you are not qualified. It usually means the process needs to be diagnosed. Let me be clear. The success metrics haven't changed much over the years. But what has changed is the input required to get those results. So to maintain the same outcomes as before, job seekers today need to contact more headhunters, around 30 to 50 of them, apply to more job ads, apply to at least 50, approach more companies directly, around 60 to 90, and do more networking from occasional to regular and strategic. In short, the same results now require more structured effort. And if you are wondering if your job search process, how efficient it is, we've got you covered. We've prepared some blog posts with real life benchmarks and a short test that helps you assess your efficiency. You will find the link to the job post to this post, with this tool in the comment section. Okay, now that you've seen the problems and the data behind them, let's talk about what you can do to fix it. If the market is slower, more competitive, and more relationship driven, job search needs to become more strategic, more targeted, more visible, more measurable, and more consistent. As I said before, more applications are not always the answer. A better process is the answer. The solution is to treat job search as a structured project, not as a set of applications, not as something done only when a job ad appears, and not as something based on hope. It needs a goal, strategy, channels, KPIs, and regular follow-up. The new job search logic is actually very simple. Do not ask only which channel works best, ask instead how do I make the channels support each other. For example, use job ads to identify demand. Apply with ATS ready CV. Contact the relevant decision makers. Activate your network for context or referral. Follow up with a clear value message. Track response and interview rates. That is the difference between activity and strategy. And to show you what is actually possible, I walk you through a real client case study that highlights what happens when someone moves from a limited reactive job search to a structured strategic process. Let me introduce you to one of our clients, a sales executive working for the Polish operations of the multinational consumer goods company. They wanted to move from a broader consumer goods into the food sector and was willing to relocate within Europe. The challenge was very complex. It had internal restructuring, high public visibility, a relationship-driven sector, and limited job search experience because the client was looking for a job for the first time. And they started the job search in October 2025. They mainly applied via job ads. In total, our client sent out 217 applications. They contacted 10 headhunters with limited response rate. They had a simple CV with a lack of achievements. In addition, it was not tailored for ATS and it didn't contain any keywords. They did not use LinkedIn and networking. They had a clear job goal and strategy. They used channels to limited extent and did no follow-ups and had a low interview rate. So as you can see, the effort was there, but the structure was actually missing. And if we connect this case to the 5 problems we've discussed before, applying via job ads only relates to problem number 1. Contacting only 10 headhunters relates to problem number 5 because the volume was too low to generate reliable results. Simple CV and the lack of achievements relate to problems number 2 and 4. No tailored CV for ATS or keywords relates to problems number 2 and 3. Unclear job goal and LinkedIn strategy relate to problem number 4. And limited channels, no follow-ups, and low interview rate relate to problem number 5. So this was not one isolated issue, and we see it all the time. Now, let's look at what may have happened to those 217 CVs. Around 75% of them were sent through ATS platforms. So that gives us 163 CVs. Around 25% of them were sent by email, so it makes 54 CVs. And here's where it gets interesting and concerning. According to topresume.com, we can assume that from the 163 CVs, actually ATS applications, roughly 75% were filtered out automatically by the system. That means only 41 CVs were ever seen by a human recruiter. And if we look at another source, AIApply, it suggests that only 2% of applicants get seen. In this case, that would mean only 4 CVs. And of course, these are estimates, but they show a very important point. Sending a CV does not mean that a human actually reads it. Now let's look at the applications sent directly by email. There were around 54 of them. If 50% were ignored by recruiters, that leaves around 27 CVs seen by the recruiter. And if we do the math, we get 68 CVs seen by a human. In other words, out of 217 sent CVs, only between 4 to 68 may have been reviewed by a human. And this is why visibility matters so much. Applying does not automatically mean being seen. Let's now have a look at our clients' interview rate. They generated 6 interviews. Most of them were informal or introductory, so no real opportunities or job offers. Their interview rate was around, let's say, 3%, so well below the 5 to 10% benchmark we aim for. So again, the issue was not that the client had no experience, because it was a very experienced candidate. The issue was that the process was not generating enough quality conversations. And then they started working with us. We helped them verify their job core and strategy, prepare an ATS compliant CV and a stronger executive positioning. We created a project portfolio to show achievements and business impact. We tailored communication for companies, headhunters, and PVC contacts. We activated LinkedIn, networking, and direct contact. And we followed a structured, evidence-based process. So this is exactly what we mean when we say that job search needs to be managed like a project. And here are the results. After about 5 months of working together, our client found a new job. They got a better position, salary, and more flexibility. Their skills and experience stayed the same. The difference? Strategy in the process. So, what do top performing candidates do differently? They follow a structured process. They define a realistic job goal based on the path of least resistance. They build a clear USP, so unique selling proposition, with evidence, not just adjectives. They prepare 2 versions of their CVs for human and ATS, and the LinkedIn profile. Both those or all those tools need to speak to both humans and algorithms. And they use all 4 channels simultaneously. They do not rely on one action, one document, or one channel. They build the entire process. Let's now summarize what we've discussed. The new rules of the job market in 2026 are: job ads are not dead, but they rarely work alone. A good CV isn't enough if nobody relevant sees it. ATS matters, but human trust matters just as much. Networking is no longer optional. Direct contact works best with context. Job search needs KPIs, not guesswork. And strategy beats volume. These are not theoretical rules. They come directly from what we observe in the market and in real client work. So what does this mean for you? The market is more demanding, but your response does not have to be more chaotic. The key is not doing more of the same. It's making the process more strategic, visible, measurable, and consistent. That is what increases the probability of interviews and eventually better career decisions. Let's now talk about what happens after today. Over the next 4 months, we will host one LinkedIn Live event per month, each focused on a different stage of the job search process. We'll cover defining a realistic job goal and USP, CV, LinkedIn, and ATS optimization, contacting headhunters and decision makers, as well as strategic networking, and preparing for interviews. All of these events are backed by reactions from over 26,000 professionals and 16 years of insights. So if today's session helped you understand why your job search may not be working, the next events will help you go deeper into specific parts of the process. The next event will be how to show your value in the job market. It will take place on the 26th of June at 11:30 Central European Summer Time, so the same as today. We'll focus on how to make your value clear to recruiters, headhunters, and decision makers. To register, simply click Attend on our LinkedIn event. If you would like to receive the presentation from today's live session, please fill out the form shared in the comment section. Once registered, you will receive access to the materials. To stay updated, follow Career Angels on LinkedIn. That way you'll be the first to receive updates about upcoming events, and you'll find the link in the comment section. And after today, you can choose the next step that fits your situation best. Option 1, you can join the next LinkedIn Live event and go deeper into selected parts of the process. You can explore our blog and use our free tools to build your own strategy, or request a free career consultation. Whichever path you choose, the key is not doing more of the same, it is making the process better. About the free career consultation, you can book a 20-30 minutes online meeting with me or one of our experts. Simply send an email to maria.bozek@careerangels.eu. Use the subject career consultation / job hunting manager and include your CV or link to your LinkedIn profile so we can prepare on your own situation, and a short note about what you'd like to discuss. And if you're wondering, we can talk about your current job search strategy, how to improve your CV or LinkedIn profile, how to prepare for interviews, or whether to stay with your current employer or make a change. So, in other words, you bring the topic and we will bring the advice. If you think our know-how and tips are of value, follow our content. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We regularly share insights, job market data, and practical tips to help you manage your career. And of course, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Maria Bożek or scan the QR code visible on the screen. You can also find the direct link to my profile in the comment section. And I am always happy to stay in touch. And if you have any additional questions, you can ping me there. Okay, let's now move to the Q&A part of the session. So send me your questions in the comments, or if you would not like your full name be visible under the event, that's perfectly fine. You can also send me a direct message on LinkedIn. I will now check the comment section if there are some comments, questions, and I will as well check my direct message. Oh, I can see that we have some technical issues, but I hope, Marcelo, you was able to finally hear and see me. Okay, so I have a question. How to approach project portfolio? The amount of data that can be shared publicly is limited, and I wouldn't like to risk to break the business secrets. How to make it interesting but not empty? That's a really good question. So first of all, remember that CV and project portfolio are always confidential documents. So nobody will use that data. But of course, if sometimes our clients have signed NDAs, so they actually can't disclose data. Try some estimates, like for example, when our clients manage some big budgets, we make sure that we provide not exact numbers like 100 million euro, but we do XXX million euro. So it already shows it's a huge value, yeah, because this is the difference if it is a 10 million one digit million budget, or if it's a 3-digit million budget, yeah. So for example, that's just an example. So if you can't disclose and if you are not comfortable with providing exact numbers, then try to at least show, I mean, the range, yeah. So you can say between that and that percent, or as I said with the example with the budget, so x million euro, or at least, I mean, try to somehow hide it but still be very concrete. Let me check again the comment section. How do I get the slides? In the comment section, you will find a link to the form, to the questionnaire that you need to fill in to sign up to receive the materials. I mean, this is actually the first comment that is posted by Career Angels. It starts with job market KPIs/job hunting report 2025. And if you click on see more, you will see the rest of the links that all have been mentioned during the webinar, together with the form to sign up for the slides. There's a follow-up question to the project portfolio. On which stage to send it to recruiter? So whenever they ask you for project portfolio business cases, it's rarely part of the screening process. So when you actually apply for the first time, they usually ask it if you are in the later stages of the recruitment process. So they will ask for it directly if they need it. But of course, that's a good point. That this is the case when you apply to a job ad. But if you, for example, are approaching companies directly, so you get in touch with your decision makers, then you can proactively attach project portfolio/business cases together with your CV to the email. Yeah, if you have the feeling that those business cases will be attractive to the decision makers. I'm checking the comment section again. If there are some new comments. If you would say one takeaway, what has been the most important change in the job market for this year? Definitely multi-touch outreach strategy. So don't treat job search channels as separate paths. They all work together. So for example, as we discussed, when you apply to a job ad, check your network. If you don't know anybody working in there who could back up your application, and as well approach the company by sending out to your future direct boss, so the hiring manager. And the same goes with direct approach. When you get in touch with companies directly, at the same time back up your outreach with checking your network if you don't know anybody in there that could again back up your application. Okay, I'm doing the last round of checking the comment section. And my direct messages. There's a second follow-up question to the project portfolio. What about using it as a follow-up after the first interview? I think it's a good idea. But again, as you said, I know that I said that project portfolio and CVs are always confidential documents, but again, it will depend on what are your feelings after the interview. If you've had a good flow, chemistry, and you established some concrete next steps, making you believe that you will pass to the next stage of the recruitment process, then I would say yes, you can share the project portfolio together with the follow-up. But if not, then the question is, how the project portfolio in your case will look like, because sometimes it can provide, a concrete solution to concrete problems. So the question is if you want to give it for free sometimes, yeah. But yes, generally, to sum up, generally it's a good idea, but it's always good to consider it case by case, yeah. That would be strategically wise. Okay, we have some participants, so let's again check the comment section. Okay, so it appears we don't have additional questions. If I missed your question, or if you post it, send it after we end the stream and the live stream, no worries. I will follow up afterwards. Yes, so don't be afraid. And of course, you have my LinkedIn profile, so get in touch directly if you have any questions. And of course, we can have a career consultation to discuss your individual situation in more detail. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today, and hopefully see you next time. Take care.